Upset win over number two Boston College, just a one game weekend for you guys. Turning your attention to hockey's road trip heading up to UMass Lowell. Just want to get your thoughts heading into the weekend.
Yeah, well, clearly Lowell's playing great hockey. They just swept Vermont. They're 8-2. I think they're getting great goaltending from Welch. I think maybe a strength of their team is, they have four really seasoned graduate defensemen on their back end, which is, I think, they're really tough to score against, and they're getting contributions from a lot of different people up front. The couple new freshmen have joined. I know Delaney's been really good, and they're an experienced team. I went back and looked at, I think, our last 10 meetings. I think every game has been a one-goal game, and if it wasn't a one-goal game, there was an empty netter. It's just been always a tight checking game against Lowell, and I would expect more of the same this weekend.
Awesome. All right, we'll open up for questions. As always, guys, just raise your hand emoji and I'll call you out. So who wants to start us off? Jim, we'll start with you.
Hi, Kev. Good to see you.
Nice to see you,
I'll
Jim.
start out. I'll start out with Lowell. Why do you think you guys play such tight games?
Well,
Is it just similar styles?
I think very similar styles of hockey. I do. I have the utmost respect for Norm. I think he's been in this league a long time. His teams are so well coached. They're disciplined. Great special teams. I mean, Lowell's power play is almost 40%. I think it's second in the country. The only one higher than them is Dartmouth, and they have not played as many games as Lowell. So it's just they don't give up a lot, 5-on-5. That's kind of a goal of ours as well. I think both of us take a lot of pride in our 5-on-5 play. And and their special teams have been really good too. So it's just been a really tight series, and probably it's very similar styles of play.
Hey, and I just wanted to ask Music. I know he left the last game. What's his status for this weekend?
He's not available this weekend.
Okay.
He will not be playing.
Randy, we'll jump over to you.
Thanks. Good morning, Cav. How you doing today?
I'm great, Randy. How are you?
All right, thank you. Hudson and I think Tom too in his post-game interview said that, this past week could be a galvanizing moment for the team, one that, puts the team in the right direction. I just wonder what you're seeing in practice, if you've seen that over the last couple of days, be something that the guys have made a rallying point.
Yeah, I just think it's really tough to say one game in November is going to be the linchpin to a successful season. I wasn't ready to jump off a bridge when we get swept by Merrimack, and I'm not ready to order rings when we beat BC. So it's we move on, and this is going to be a really tough opponent this weekend. And I personally don't think the BC win has anything to do with whether we're successful or not against Lowell. It's going to be what team is more disciplined, what team executes, and what team doesn't turn the puck over. A lot of times that's the difference when you have two pretty evenly matched teams. It's those neutral zone turnovers or offensive zone turnovers that could lead to an odd man rush. It could be the difference in a game.
And speaking of rushes and up and down, I mean, you guys played with tremendous pace on Friday night. I know that's been a point for you that you've mentioned on a few of these. Do you guys are you finding that with the increased team speed this year, when the game is played at a pace like it was Friday night, that's good for your team?
Yeah, well, we always want to play at that pace. We're a team that likes to get up and down the ice, and we want to be able to pressure teams. I think it's probably very similar imagine Norm's probably saying the same thing about his team. You know, you want to apply pressure to a team and get them to turn pucks over in bad areas. And that's something that when you play with pace, you can do that.
Thank you.
Laura, we'll go over to you.
Hey, Mike, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I wanted to ask you just about what you thought of the way that Tommy Heaney was able to step in for you guys on Saturday and kind of a big time moment against BC.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, when we recruited him, you know, we said, hey, you know, Tommy, we have two goaltenders that, you know, scholarship goaltenders here, and typically our third goalie in the past, they might have played one period of hockey in the last 4 or 5 years, and he's already played 4 against BC and BU. So, talk about being thrown into the fire. It was a really tough situation that he was put in, and he was able to hold on and get us a win. So I thought it was a great performance by him.
What do you think it says just about his character and his type of competitive fire that allows him to be successful in those situations?
Well, yeah, he's, you know, he's got ice water in his veins too. He never seems rattled. So, I know our team really appreciates, you know, having him on the club as well. But it was a tough spot to come in, and he did a great job.
I also wanted to ask you about Ryan Tattle. I know he took a big step last year as well, but what did you see in him in that top line center spot? I know he had that empty netter, of course, and an assist. How has he been for you guys in his junior year?
He's been great. I mean, arguably one of our best players so far this season. He's just been playing in all situations and brings a lot of energy. And it's not just to games; he's bringing energy to practice every day as well.
Can you describe it for me? Like what's he doing to kind of bring energy? Like what's a moment that really stands out to you where you're like, oh, like he's bringing it this year?
Well, he's always been that type of player. I mean, it's just if we're doing face off, you know, if we're having a scrimmage in practice, he treats that face off like it's 10 seconds left in a game, and you know, he's got to win it. Every drill he does, every rep he does, he's doing at full speed, and he doesn't take any time off, whether it's in practice or in a game.
Thank you.
Sure.
Jim, we'll jump back to you.
Thanks. Mike, I look at your power play numbers and or even special teams in general, that they're not great, but you know, I saw you scored 3 straight games on the power play. Has there been some improvements made, and kind of if so, in both the PK and the power play? Can you just take us through some of the improvements?
Yeah, I think speaking specifically about the power play, there was a stretch, Jim, where I really liked what the power play was doing. We just weren't scoring goals. We didn't get rewarded from it. So as of late, you know, even the 5-minute major we had against BC, we had some really good chances on the 5-minute major. So I like the step that the power play's taken. I think there's more of an emphasis on getting pucks to the net with bodies there. And I think that's been what's one of the reasons why we've been scoring some goals lately. And our penalty kill's been pretty solid. You know, we had a big kill against BC. They had a 5-minute major as well. So I think special teams can be, you're going to go through stretches in a year where your power play gets hot. You're going to go through stretches where sometimes you get some fluke goals against you as a penalty kill. It's just being consistent with your process and staying with it, regardless of what your percentages are at that point. It's really, especially with the power play, it's about the next power play. It's not what's happened in the past. We've said it time and time again. I mean, it's gonna, I mean, to stay at 40% for Lowell all year long is probably not feasible, right? I mean, they're gonna go through a stretch where they don't score some power play goals, and there's gonna be a stretch where you get hot, you know, and I think it's the same thing with the penalty kill. But It's sticking to your process, it's sticking to your game plan. And then the other piece of it, Jim, with special teams, the teams with the best special teams are usually teams that don't take a lot of penalties. You know, if you have 100 power plays, you can't be having 110 power plays against. Like those teams where there's a discrepancy like that, you probably special teams aren't going to be as good. You know, the real good teams are usually at 100 power plays and maybe 80 against, you know, averaging maybe one more power play a game if you want to be really good.
Daniel, we'll jump over to you.
Not to take the focus away from hockey, but big night in stores over in Gamble with Gino
Yeah.
likely becoming the all-time wins leader, barring the upset of the century. But just what have you learned from Gino as a coach in your time at UConn, and do you have any good Gino stories that you could share?
Yeah, I've learned so much from him, and it's you know, become pretty friendly with him, and we socialize quite a bit, play a lot of golf now. He was probably the first coach I met when I got here with Ward Manuel at an event, and he's been, you know, helpful ever since. He obviously has a lot of institutional knowledge, and his success speaks for itself. I'm excited to go watch tonight. I just got my tickets, so I'm going to head over tonight to watch and support him. He was here last week supporting us, you know, sat in on my press conference afterwards. So it's just been a great friendship to have, and I'm looking forward to growing it even more in the future.
Laura, we'll go back to you.
I just also wanted to ask you about Trey Scott as well. You know, didn't play the first couple of games for you guys, but what did you see in him when you recruited him, and how has he been playing recently?
You know, Laura, I have to give a lot of credit to Tyler Helton. I didn't know a lot about Trey, and he really pushed the envelope when it came to recruiting him. He really believed in him. And you know, Trey came here on a partial scholarship, and he's been awesome. You know, he didn't play the first couple of games, but once he got his opportunity, you know, it's been hard to take him out, and now he's quarterback in the top power play. So credit to him, credit to Tyler. I'm glad he saw in him what he did, and I'm looking forward to working with him in the future because I think he's going to be a real integral piece of our defensive core going forward.
When was the last time a player kind of came in and surprised you like that?
Well, it happens a lot, you know, sometimes. I didn't think Ryan Tattle was going to be the player that he's turned into. He's been really, really good. Hudson Shandor was a player that, you know, came in on a partial scholarship, started as a fourth line center, and now he could be the all-time leading scorer here in the Hockey East era when his time's done. So I think, you know, the players, you know, it happens probably a little bit more often than you think. A lot of times you bring a kid in and you have high expectations for him, and sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't. But a lot of times those kids that weren't recruited heavily have a chip on their shoulder, and they're eager to prove something. And a lot of times those wind up being your best players.
Just last quick one for me. I know that you've already mentioned like puck management. It's going to be a tight checking game against Lowell, but really, what are the points of emphasis for you guys going into the weekend?
Well, certainly that. Discipline, not taking a lot of penalties. You don't want to take penalties when a team has a power play clicking at 40%. That's for sure. Like anything else, I think we're gonna, you know, have to get pucks into the blue paint. We're gonna have to get bodies and pucks into the blue paint. If it's a perimeter game for us offensively, you know, that's not going to bode well. So certainly managing the puck, staying out of the box, and you know, trying to create offensive opportunities in the blue paint.
Randy, we'll go back to you.
Thank you. I want to ask about Messinio's goal, but in particular, he shot it. You've talked in the past about quality shots being off the ice, but low, tippable. That one went through straight through. Is that one that you could point to as like the ideal shot, especially if it is from the perimeter, something that's off the ice, a little tougher to track and maybe tippable?
Yeah, we did that exactly in film session on Monday and said, this is where you got to shoot pucks. You know, when you get pucks high up in the air, there's arms, there's a lot more things that can hit when it's high. As it's lower, you just got to get it by shin pads. And to Mess's credit, he kept that puck about 10 inches off the ice and just inside the post, which was a great shot.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Dan.
You talked a little bit about Ryan Tattle's development earlier, but what was there a point that you really saw it start to click for him, given the pretty rough start he had to his career and not being being able to be around his entire freshman year? Like, when did you really start to see it come together?
Probably last year, I would say. I think last year, about midway through the season, he really started to shine. In our eyes, I think he became started. I remember the game at New Hampshire where he was playing so well. We had him out there in a 5-on-6 situation, taking draws because he couldn't lose a draw that night, and he won 2 big draws down the stretch, and we wound up pulling out the win at New Hampshire. And I think that gave him a lot of confidence, and from that, I think he scored in that game as well. It gave him a lot of confidence going down the stretch for us, and it's just carried over into this year.
We got anything else for Coach, guys?
All right,
Awesome.
guys.
Well,
You guys have a
Casey,
great day.
Casey, you got something?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Colin. Coach, I appreciate your time. I know it's a small sample size this year, only a few games in on the road, looking for the first road win this week. And is there anything that you've noticed that's kind of gotten the team close to coming away with wins on the road that hasn't exactly clicked to this point in the year?
I thought we played pretty well at Holy Cross, and we played, I thought, really well up at Merrimack. But sometimes it doesn't go your way. At Holy Cross, it was a special teams that killed us up there. We didn't kill penalties very well up there, and we had chances on the power play and didn't score. I think they went 3 for 5, we went 0 for 5, and that was the difference in a 4-3 game against them. Against Merrimack, again, I thought we played really well on the road, and their goaltender played, extremely well also. So we had trouble getting it by him, but I don't, even at BU, we played pretty well. I thought we played well there. So I don't think it's just sometimes it hasn't gone your way on the road, but Friday night's always an opportunity to get our first win. So we're going to have to play extremely well again and hopefully get some things to go our way.
I know you had alluded to the prolific state of UMass Lowell's power play this season, albeit early in the year. With the goaltending change this week, and do you anticipate anything systematically changing on the penalty kill, considering there's a new goalie in net?
No, we'll stay with the same philosophy we have in process and killing penalties. The goaltender won't have any bearing on that.